Today what we're going to do is be able to go to the Applied Aerodynamics Group website, pick a standard airfoil, and bring that in, convert the data, and use it to create an airfoil in Creo. So first thing we want to do is select an airfoil, and there's a lot of them here. The Clark Y is a very common airfoil used in the hobby world. So I'm going to go to the clarky.dat file. There's a GIF file that you can look at, and that's the airfoil that we want. So I'll be picking on the data file, and you can see that it has a lot of XY coordinates. I'm going to do a Control A, Control C to copy that data, and I'm going to take that and create a new text file. And I don't care what the name of the text file is right now. So that text file is going to hold my data from the website. And you'll see that there's basically two groupings of data. You have the top surface of the airfoil first, and then the bottom surface of the airfoil. So this is the data I'm going to have to manipulate. I'm going to start by deleting this header information, and I'll go ahead and highlight just the top data from the break at the bottom, or in the middle, to the top. So I'm going to do Control C on that, and I'm going to bring it into a blank Word document because this is how I'll be manipulating the data. So I'm going to copy it, Control A, right click, paragraph, and I'm going to put 0 spacing in and just make it single space so I can see the data a little bit better. In order to manipulate the data, I have to get rid of spaces. So I'm going to pick on the paragraph bar so that I can see the data. I also zoom in a little bit. And I want to get rid of these spaces on the left side of the data. This top line doesn't have it. So I'll put one in just to make it even. But what I want to do is put my cursor down right around to the left of the 0, hold the Alt key down, and drag all the way down. And what that does is it highlights just that column of spaces. So that gets rid of all the spaces on my data. The second thing I want to do is Control H, expand that dialog box, and I'm going to search for space, and I'm going to replace it with a special character, and that is tab character. So what I want to do is replace all spaces with tabs. So I'm going to do replace all, OK. And then the next thing I want to do is, this is a X and Y data, and I need to add a Z. So I need to add a tab 0 for Z coordinate at the end of all my data points. So I'm going to search for special. First of all, delete the space that's at the top, paragraph mark, and I'm going to replace it with a tab 0 paragraph mark. When I do a replace all, what I find is that now I have an X, Y, and Z coordinate all separated by tabs. I'm going to scroll to the end, get rid of the space at the bottom, or blank line, and I'm going to put one more line at the top and give myself a header, tab X, Y, tab Z. So that's my header. I'm going to highlight this data, Control C, and I'm going to create a new text file, and I'm going to call this airfoil top.txt. So I'll open that up and paste my data in there. There's a blank line at the bottom. I have to get rid of that. Make sure there's no blank lines. So I have X, Y, Z at the top and all my data. All right, so this is good. I'm going to save it. But then I need to save it as a special file. So I'm going to save as. And for this, I need to use a special technique. Quote airfoil top.pts, end quote. And that PTS with the quotes saves this file in a special format that Creo can use. So I'm going to save that and close this. Now I can go back to my data, which is this text document, and I'm going to highlight the bottom set of data. Control C, I'll bring up the Word document, and I'm going to just hit delete to delete everything, and Control V to paste it. Now I have to do the same thing. I have to, I'll change the spacing here just so we don't have the data so far separated. Okay. Now I'll scroll to the top, put my mouse right about there, hold the Alt key down, highlight all the data, delete. It gets rid of all the spaces on the left side. Control H. What do I want to find? I'm going to want to find spaces, and I want to replace it with a tab. So I'm going to do replace all. Next thing I want to do is delete the space at the top, find a paragraph mark, and replace it with 0 paragraph mark. Replace all. And that gives me my data points that I need. And I just need to add the X tab, Y tab, Z for my header. Make sure everything's properly formatted. Control C to highlight that data. And then I'm going to open up another new text file. And I will call this Airfoil bottom bot. And I'll just paste my bottom airfoil data, getting rid of the blank line at the bottom here, and making sure the header is good. And I'll save this, and then I'll save as that special. Now I don't have to retype airfoil, so I'm just going to put quote here, backspace over the txt, and type PTS, end quote. Okay, so when I pick save, what that will do is that'll give me all the files I need: airfoil top.pts, airfoil bottom.pts. Now I'm able to go into Creo, and I already got into a part. So the thing you want to do in Creo is just draw a 1-inch line. So I'm going to come in here and sketch. Just going to draw a line. Oops. Draw a line, and I'm just going to make the line in front 0.3, and then make this a 1-inch line. So I have a 1-inch line that's 0.3 away from the coordinate system on the left end, and then it's 1 inch long total. So having done that line, I'm going to line my sketch up, and I'm going to add a spline. And it's a spline that actually does the following of the data points. The line just gives me a scaling mechanism. So I want to put a spline on top and on bottom. All I did was pick 4 points for each spline. It really doesn't matter where these points are, just as long as they're just above and below is fine. And I need to give myself a coordinate system. So I'm going to use this coordinate system and put it right there at the front of my airfoil. Now what I can do is redo this top spline with the top data. So I double click on it. It opens up the spline editing dialog box. Pick File, and all I have to do is pick on this coordinate system, and then I can go get my data. Open, and I'm going to do the top first. So that gives me the top airfoil. To do the bottom one, I just double click on the bottom, pick File, pick on the coordinate system, get the bottom data, pick Yes, have my bottom. Okay, pick OK to that, and now I have a sketch. If I wanted to make a wing from this, it would be pretty easy to do. All I'd have to do is get to extrude, use this as a sketch plane, line it up. I'll go into my references and make the top and bottom airfoil shape my reference, and then I can go to project or offset. Project gives me a line that's on top of a surface. Offset gives me something that I can put a distance away from that. Then I can make this as long as I want, and I have an airfoil and a wing. Thank you very much.